Welcome to Fantasia, home of the Melodious. My name is Azallea, and today I'm going to be bringing you guys my first ever regionals report. Now, I apologize for this being so delayed. I had so many things happening in real life, but now that all my work is pretty much out of the way, we can have a more regular upload schedule from now on. So anyway, I recently attended my first regionals at Timonium, Maryland a few weeks ago, and oh my god, it was just so amazing. So I've always been like a casual player. I play casual decks, fun things, and I like to tweak around with those. But I play with a competitive mindset, as you can tell with my side deck choices and a lot of my deck profiles and how I tend to play online. So this was a chance for me to kind of challenge myself and put my knowledge of the game to the test. There were a total of 332 attendees and 9 rounds of Swiss, and I managed to finish in 60th place with a record of 5 wins, 2 losses, and 2 ties. So I chose to take my Dark Lunalight deck to this regional because I was confident in his ability to quickly switch between a defensive and offensive playstyle. So when most people think of Lunalights, they think of this glass cannon OTK based deck where you just have to kill your opponent as quickly as possible with Leo Dancer, but that's not how I think Lunalights should be played. I think they have so much more to offer with their consistency, their recovery, and resource management. So I will have a deck profile later on in this video at the very end for you guys to see, and it explains all my card choices and what I would kind of change for the future. But in general, I think that my playstyle with this deck was pretty solid. I would always end up with some form of like Dryden and Harbinger if I went first. I got lucky and I drew into like some strikes and warnings, and that really does help create a larger buffer zone against the opponents. Of course, there are a lot of Paleozoic Zodiacs and Wind Witch Artifact Invoked, which was pretty standard. I expected that, although there were not many Infernoid players at the event, and I actually geared a decent chunk of my side deck toward Infernoids, but it never really came up. But luckily, all of my side deck cards came in at some point, except like Torrential Tribute, which I never ever sided in, but I'll get into that in the deck profile. So yeah, throughout all the games, they were really good. If you want to read up on them, I will have a link to my Reddit post in the description and in the pinned comments down below. So definitely go read up on them because like I made a huge detailed report, and huge shout outs to my friend Super Polly for helping like edit my work and everything like that, because my grammar and stuff was all over the place. So to briefly summarize the 9 matchups that I had that day, I played against 4 Paleozoics, 2 Zodiacs, 1 Wind Witch Artifact Invoked, 1 Metaphors Yang Zing, and 1 Cubic deck. So the Cubic deck was it was a pretty fun experience to play against him. He had the same record as me. I think I played it against him in round 4. He had 2 wins and 1 tie, and apparently up until then he was just OTKing people left and right because they had no idea what Cubics did. Fortunately though, I did understand how Cubics worked, and I was able to stop his plays, or at least the more essential plays, so he couldn't OTK me with his Crimson Nova. If you want more details, of course, again, link is in the description and in the pinned comments if you want to read my entire tournament report. So coming up next, I'm going to have a deck profile for you guys where I explain all of my card choices, so hopefully you guys will enjoy. Alright, so let's jump into the deck profile. So as you guys can notice, I have kind of a different setup. I want your feedback in the comment section down below. Do you want it set up this way where it's closer to the cards, or do you want it set up the way I had before, where it's zoomed out but you can see all the cards in a pile? It's up to you guys. Please let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. I can go either way. It's just something I want to test out because I had the chance to. But anyway, moving on into this deck profile, we actually play 3 copies of Lunalight Black Sheep because main searcher for polymerization and helps us recur our resources from the graveyard and extra deck, which is really nice. Next off, we play 3 copies of Lunalight Blue Cat, the floater for the deck. Blue Cat was actually really great against Dryden because every time my opponent popped it with Dryden, I could summon another copy and just swing over it anyway. It has 1600 attack, which means it can crash with MX Saber Invoker, which is also a really common card that I just saw so much during the event against all my Zodiac matches. But yeah, definitely 3 copies, especially because she's a level 4 that you can use with Lunalight Tiger, which we, of course, also play 3 copies of. Lunalight Tiger, her pendulum effect is not once per turn, by the way, her pendulum scale effect, so I just kept reviving things over and over and over, and just, I believe one round I even used her effect, I think, 5 times in a single turn. I won that turn, of course, but because I made a huge, massive field, but yeah, Lunalight Tiger, absolutely potent card. And speaking of potent card, Lunalight Wolf came in so clutch, not only for setting up the field with Harbinger, because you need Wolf to make your second Panther Dancer, so you can overlay 2 Panthers for Harbinger, but Wolf actually came up so many times where I'll just have her late game, and I'll be able to use her effect and just summon a Leo Dancer out of nowhere. I believe I stole 2 games with Leo Dancer just by summoning her, doubling it with Blue Cat, and then swinging for game. Absolutely ridiculous plays, so really do love it. Next off, I play the Dark Engine. This is why I call this deck the Dark Lunalight deck, because I play 3 copies of Armageddon Knight and 1 copy of Zephyros, and oh my god, this is amazing. So Armageddon Knight will normally send the Blue Cat, or it can send the Zephyros, that's why Zephyros is there. Zephyros is actually there for later turns, normally. So during subsequent turns after you use your first Armageddon Knight, so your second and third won't be dead, you have something else to send. Zephyros actually extends a lot of your plays by returning things like Lunalight Tiger from your scale back to your hand. Also, really cool interaction with Zephyros, though, is that if you instant fusion for Norden, you Norden bring back something like a hand trap, you know, Maxi, Ghost Ogre, DD Crow, you can actually use Zephyros, return that hand trap to your hand, summon the Zephyros. You still have Norden and Zephyros to go into your Broad Bowl plays, but now you have an additional hand trap in your hand as well. There's actually one combo that uses instant fusion, one of the typical combos in this deck where you use Zephyros to bounce back a Black Sheep that you return with that you revive with Norden, so that you can search for a second copy of Polymerization, which is really nice. Because in order to make your Trident Harbinger field, you actually need 2 copies of Polymerization. You need to fuse 2 times during your first turn. So that's why it's actually really cool to have a Zephyros in the deck. Although, when to send the Zephyros and when to send the Blue Cat, that's actually just something that you can judge once you get more experience with the deck. I can't speak for all the situations. It really depends on what's on the field and what else you have in your hand. But yeah, I really do love the Dark Engine. It's so good. I was playing the Brilliant Engine as well, but then I decided to cut it for more consistency, so I added a lot more revival cards, which I'll get into in just a bit. But here we're also playing 3 different hand traps, or 3 hand traps, but they're different. 2 Ghost Ogres and 1 Maxi. Ghost Ogres came up sometimes. It wasn't the greatest. I really wish I played DD Crow instead in place of the 2 Ghost Ogres, but oh well. Can't change things after you write everything into your deck list, right? So we also played 1 copy of Maxi, best hand trap in the game. Do not cut it from your deck just because it's a 1. If you can see it, like, you'll sack your opponent. Like, I sacked, I think, a couple of my opponents just by dropping Maxi. They took the Maxi challenge, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm playing Lunalights, so I'm gonna OTK you now. So that was great. And it also, Maxi helps you draw into your hand traps, so Ghost Ogres and Snow Rabbits, DD Crows, Artifact Lancias, anything else that you're playing that's a hand trap in your between your main and side. Really, really good card. So going to the spells, we actually play 3 copies of Fire Formation Tenki. Tenki is just great for searching out all of our Lunalight cards, and it basically replaces one of the monsters. Like, it just counts as an additional monster in your hand, so it's really good. Searches out any missing combo piece. We're also playing 2 copies of Polymerization and 1 copy of Fusion Substitute. Fusion Substitute's great for returning Norden back to the extra deck, so our instant fusions are dead. You can also return your Lunalight fusions if you have extra copies in your graveyard that you don't need at the moment. Just getting that extra draw is so good, especially since Lunalight's thin the deck so hard. At least with this build, you're just able to draw into all of your power spells or your traps, which just shut down your opponent's turn, especially if you already have Trident Harbinger on the field. It's just really, really powerful. Also, the fact that the Lunalight Zodiac deck uses the Norden Fusion Substitute Daigusto Emerald loop for like 3 to 5 draws on their first turn or whatever. We can do that, or at least some variant of that. I actually pulled it off one time where my opponent just had 1 step back row and he refused to scoop, so I thought it was a Mirror Force. And instead of attacking into it, I actually just continued to loop my resources until I drew into a Twin Twister on my 3rd draw for the turn. Used a Twin Twister, cleared the back row, and attacked for game for the OTK. It was a really sweet moment. He wasn't really too happy about that either. But yeah. Okay, so moving on, we're actually playing 2 copies of Fusion Recovery, a card I never ever saw. Usually always sided 1 copy out just because it is not too necessary in the deck. I don't think I would, I wouldn't bump it up to 3 and I wouldn't cut it down to 1. It's kind of like a 2 or nothing card for me. I might test the deck without running it because I just never saw it and I still did really well. So maybe if I replaced it with some other more consistency boosting cards or something, I don't know, to try and streamline the deck. But yeah, I can't speak too much about it. 3 copies of Instant Fusion, really great enabler for the deck, and I already explained what the shenanigans you could do with Zephyros, so yeah. Fusion Substitute also puts Norden back, so the future copies of Instant Fusion that you draw are never going to be dead. And yeah, so we also play 3 copies of Lunalight Perfume. Perfume is just great monster reborn card. So many times I just reborned a Panther Dancer and just swung for game, like OTK'd out of nowhere, so that was really great. Next off, we have 3 copies of Twin Twisters. Best last minute decision I've ever made with this game was just putting in 3 Twin Twisters into my main deck. I was siding 3 before the event, and I decided, you know what, I'm just gonna put 3 into the main. I don't really care. I really wanted to just, you know, screw the paleo matchup. I just hated the paleo matchup. Turns out my deck actually has a really good paleo matchup, so there is that. But I do think the 3 Twin Twisters has something to do with it. Lunalights are able to grind a lot, but Twin Twisters just makes it so your opponent can grind less. Zodiacs too. Against Zodiacs, where they have their D barriers and strikes and stuff, you can just Twin Twister them all the way, and they really lose their defense. Their defense comes from traps. Same with Paleozoics. So yeah, 3 copies of Twin Twisters, I believe is absolutely necessary in the main, and I still think it's like the best spell card in the game right now. Speaking of really good spell cards in the game, 1 copy of Raigeki just to clear fields. Came up a couple times, but the times it did come up was clutch. Just clear the whole field out and just OTK. We play the 4th copy of Armageddon Knight in the form of Reinforcement of the Army, because Armageddon Knight is a really important combo piece. And then we also play the Solemn Brigade, 3 copies of Solemn Strike and a copy of Solemn Warning. Thank you so much to Billy for letting me borrow 2 copies of Solemn Strikes for the event, because I only had 1 at the time. And so yeah, it really did help me out. Thank you so much, man. if you're watching this video, huge shout out to you. Okay, so moving on into the side deck, we're actually starting off with 2 copies of DD Crow. Like I said earlier, I really wish I mained these 2 copies of DD Crow in place of the Ghost Ogres. I should have sided 2 Ghost Ogres instead for the Zodiac matchup, because DD Crow is so much more versatile. I also would have put a 3rd copy of DD Crow in the side deck, regardless. I really should have done that. I should have just cut something like a Torrential Tribute from the side instead, but yeah. Anyway, next off we play 3 copies of Retaliating Sea. God damn, I just never saw this card at all. Sided it in against Zodiacs, but just didn't see it, and it was sad. The plan was that if my opponent did the Zodiac combo with the Fusion Substitute, I could use it on the Fusion Substitute. It'll banish his 2 XYZs and the Fusion Substitute, so he can't loop the Norden and get the extra draw. But that just never came up. Also, if it gets destroyed by like opponent's Dryden or something, you could always just search a Max C, which is always nice. But yep, never saw it, so I can't speak too much about it. So there's that. Next off, we're actually playing 2 copies of Denko Sekka. Really do have a love-hate relationship with this card. Mostly because when I summoned it, it was like an amazing feeling against like 5 back row, but then also because the time I did summon it, which was like I think once or twice, the times I did summon it, she got outed by the opponent when they eventually they just top deck Swap Frog and start setting up for the rank 2 plays, and before I could poke them to death, they just, you know, summon the rank 2 stuff, start spamming the field, get rid of Denko Sekka, and then they can use their traps. So don't know, maybe 3, but 2 copies is alright. I guess. Yeah. Okay, so next off, we're actually playing 3 copies of Artifact Lancia. Now, Artifact Lancia, well, for one thing, I never played against Infernoids, like the entire day. I was so scared of Infernoids, but I just never played against them, which was kind of weird, but also I'm very thankful for, because I have a pretty bad Infernoid matchup, because I can just banish all my resources in the graveyard. But Artifact Lancia actually did come in handy against Invoked, which was surprising. The matchups that I did have against Invoked, though, it came up like once, and I just never saw Lancia again after that. So, again, can't really speak too much about this card. I would still definitely keep it at 3. I would not cut it or anything, because Infernoids and 60 cards and stuff are still running around, especially with Fairy Tale Snow still being legal, so even Light Sworns, it's good against Light Sworns too. Yeah, so next off, we were playing 2 copies of Dark Hole, Clear Fields, additional Raigekis. I sighted it in a couple times, never saw it, so I can't really speak too much about it either. The theory behind it was that I could normal summon a blue cat, use Dark Hole, nuke their field along with my blue cat, flow into another blue cat, and then use some form of revival to get the blue cat in the graveyard back so I can go for rank 4 plays. Yeah, it didn't happen. But next off, oh my god, another MVP of the side deck. Probably one of the best cards in the side deck ever next to DD Crow. Cosmic Cyclone. Two copies of Cosmic Cyclone. Probably will not play 3, but I think 2 is a really good number. MST could work, definitely could work. I just chose Cosmic Cyclone because I was scared of like artifacts and things like that with Sanctum and Scythe and all that good stuff, but it actually came in really clutch against Paleozoics out of all things, because I needed additional spell and trap removal, so I had 3 Twin Twisters in the main, and I'll side in 2 Cosmic Cyclones from the side deck, and wow, every time my opponent flipped anti-spell on me, I had either the Twin Twister or the Cosmic Cyclone, and I was so thankful for playing Cosmic Cyclone in those situations. Of course, MST could have done the same thing, but oh my god, it was just clutch. Additional spell and trap removal is so good this format. And last but not least, I sided 1 copy of Torrential Tribute. Never ever played it, never sided it in at all. Definitely should have cut it for another DD Crow. Really do regret that. I think that's really the biggest regret with the deck as a whole. Besides the couple minor tweaks that I would make going into the future. But yeah, definitely not playing Torrential Tribute again. So yeah, okay, going into the extra deck, we're actually played the Zodiac package, 1 copy of Tiger Mortar, 2 Broad Bowls, and 1 Trident. This is an easy way to net 2 searches with Broad Bowl, so you overlay 2 level 2s for Broad Bowl, you get a search. You overlay Tiger Mortar as a intermediary step between the 2 Broad Bowls, so you overlay your second Broad Bowl, get a second search, and then you overlay your Trident, and Trident can pop your Lunalight Tiger, which can get you back stuff from the graveyard, so it's just really great for looping resources. Next off, speaking of looping resources, we actually played 2 copies of Degusto Emerald. The second copy came up a couple times, and the times that it did, it helped me win. It was really good. Did not really miss the extra deck space that it took up for anything else. Really just love that second Emerald. It just made the first Emerald safe. It felt safe to summon the first Emerald, because if it got destroyed, if it got striked, warninged, people usually like to hit the Emerald for with those cards. The second Emerald just came out and just recycled everything back, including the first Emerald, so you just keep that loop going. Lunalights, I built this deck to grind against the opponent, because I know Zodiacs and Paleozoics are really grindy, so that's why I have that there. Next off, oh my god, another last minute put in. Evil Swarm Nightmare. This was the card, so I told you guys I was originally playing the Brilliant Engine. I had the Seraphinite in the extra deck that took up this spot, so I decided, you know what, instead of the Seraphinite, I'm going to put the Evil Swarm Nightmare in, and wow, this card came in so clutch, especially against Wind Witch, Artifact Invoked, whatever that deck is. They would summon their Wind Witches from their hand and stuff. I would just flip them face down. Whenever they synchro summon, flip that face down, flip the Clear Wing and stuff face down, because Evil Swarm Nightmare does not target, so it can, you know, bypass Clear Wing and things like that. So they've never made a Crystal Wing against me, which is amazing. It was always a good feeling. Okay, so the other rank 4 that I play is Castel, the Skyblasted Musketeer. My thought process around it was that, okay, if my opponent makes a Crystal Wing, I really have no out in this deck, so I would bait something out, then I would use Castel and spin it back into the deck. It never came up because my opponent never made Crystal Wing, but Castel was just great as overall removal though, and I would sometimes just make him as a beat stick, because I'd have like too many blue cats on the field or something. I'd just make an extra Castel and just attack for game. But yeah, the MVP XYZ of the extra deck though, oh my god, Harbinger. Harbinger. If you're playing Lunalights, play Harbinger, because it is so easy to make. With 2 copies of Panther Dancer, summon them, overlay them into Harbinger. You can negate spells, you can deflect attacks and redirect them if they're trying to attack over Trident or Emerald or your Evil Storm Nightmare, anything like that. So many times people just did not read that effect. They'll enter the battle phase, try to attack over Trident and stuff. I'll just detach from Harbinger, redirect the attack. They'll take a lot of damage. They lose their monster. I protect my Trident. Still haven't used its effect. It is so powerful. Highly recommend it. Okay, so next off we were playing 1 copy of Norden for instant fusion target. You can also make him, of course, by fusing 2 XYZ monsters together with polymerization or fusion substitute. But yeah. And then capping off the extra deck, we play the Lunalight package. So 2 copies of Lunalight Cat Dancer, 2 copies of Lunalight Panther Dancer, and 1 copy of Lunalight Leo Dancer. Panther Dancer was the main boss of the deck that I summoned, just swung over a bunch of things. Cat Dancer came up sometimes, not all the time. She was usually just used as a stepping stone to get into Panther Dancer and to banish for the second Panther Dancer. Really rarely attacked for game with her. One time I actually did, when my opponent had a Glow Bulb in defense mode. I summoned a Lunalight Wolf, and then I doubled Cat Dancer's attack with a blue cat, tributed off a black sheep, and then Cat Dancer just pierced the Glow Bulb twice for game. So that was kind of cool. Leo Dancer came up a couple times. Like I said earlier, I just summoned it out of nowhere with Lunalight Wolf and just swung twice for the OTK with the boost of Blue Cat. So yeah, that does it for the entire deck. And I hope you guys found this helpful. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe for more Lunalight content, and leave a comment down below letting me know what I can do to improve. And until next time, take care.